Hello everyone, I'm Arglethump. This is a review for The Secret Life of Miss Mary Bennet. It's a Pride and Prejudice murder mystery book. I thought it was good. I liked it. I give this one a 7 or an 8 out of 10. There are a couple things holding me back from wholeheartedly endorsing it. Number one, like a lot of Pride and Prejudice stories, I think it's too long. I think it would have been better if it was 50, maybe 100 pages shorter. And I understand. Pride and Prejudice is a very long book, but even with reading Pride and Prejudice, you could cut out like 50 or 100 pages. And in fact, that's like what most of the movies do. They just skip over a lot of stuff. So I had the same feeling when reading this book, especially because it's a mystery, so you generally expect them to be fast-paced. Whereas this one, it's very slow and has Mary doing a lot of stuff which is not directly related to the murder mystery. I did see one review saying it's like, too much talking and not enough murder. And that's probably a review that you could use for a lot of different murder mysteries. But I do agree with that criticism. However, I did like how Mary is the detective. Mary Bennet is sort of the nerdy sister, the more intellectual sister, so it works for her to be the detective in this book. I did like how she's portrayed throughout most of the book, because she's very shy and introverted, and she often thinks, well, what would my sisters do in this situation? Like, what would Jane say? Or she's having a hard time with the conversation. Lizzie's really good at having conversations. What would Lizzie say in this situation? And once she's like, okay, what would Lydia do here? So I did like that. That felt very realistic. There were a couple of moments where it felt like the other characters were shaming Mary for not being extroverted. And they both sort of come around the ball at the end, where she's supposed to be like questioning the suspect, and she does a terrible job, and he purposely like tries to end the conversation and get away and doesn't want to talk to her at all. Also at that ball, there's a moment where she like recites a poem, and then she recites another poem and another poem, and she doesn't realize that everybody hates her, and she's reciting poems because she's not dancing. This one gentleman asked her what she thinks about dances, and she gave an honest response, and then she sort of got dragged away and told, "You're really stupid. He was trying to ask you if you want to dance with him, and you just shut him down. How could you be so dumb?" And yeah, so I didn't like that. There's also a whole drama with the dress, because Mary wants to wear her normal like green outfit that she wears to every ball, and multiple characters are mean to her for not wearing this very fancy dress with a lot of makeup, and that's not exactly who Mary is. That's not her personality. She is an introverted bookworm, but everybody's mad at her for not being a fashionable society girl. And even at the end of the ball, like she tells the servant, "Oh, I'm sorry I didn't wear the dress you made me. I should have worn the fancy dress." And the servant is basically like, "You're not sorry. You're only apologizing to make yourself feel better, you selfish, rich jerk." And I just didn't like that. I didn't like those elements of like shaming the introvert for being introverted. I guess I've read too many stories. Trying to think of one. Like the movie Grease at the end, where it's like the end of the movie is the introverted shy girl just has to become this big extrovert, and then everybody loves her because she's fancy and beautiful. It's like, why couldn't she be true to herself? I mean, this book doesn't entirely do that. Mary doesn't get like a huge... No, she does have a big makeover scene and then meets the cute guy at the end, because of course there's a cute guy. This is a Pride and Prejudice one. I actually really like this guy, though. I really bought like the romance between Mary and this guy, and it was sweet the way he described her in such like glowing terms. And the other people were like, well, that can't be Mary Bennet. Nobody would describe her that way. I was like, oh, poor Mary. And then at the end of the book, he's like, wait, can Mary and I go off together? And I'm like, ooh, yes, ooh, that could be the sequel. And there is a sequel. There is a sequel. I will get to that. So all I'm saying is I thought this book did a good job with Mary and her narration. I didn't like the moments of shaming the extrovert. That's all. That's all. And there was some element to that in this book. Let's go to the mystery. Mystery is pretty good. Well, it is a little slow. Like I said, this book's like 50 to 100 pages longer than it needs to be. And so it could have been a lot more focused on the mystery. A lot of it is Mary dealing with her new relatives. So The premise is that her father has died recently, and a thief comes into the house and steals a bunch of mourning rings, just a box of mourning rings, and Mary catches him. And then shortly after, she meets these relatives, the Lady Strafford and I think his name is Lord Winslow or something like that. And they basically invite her to come live with them. And they're extremely rich, and they try to train her to become a governess. And, you know, a lot of the book is more focused on dealing with the relatives, learning French, getting used to this whole new life. And there is an element of mystery there. It feels like her relatives are up to something, like they've got a secret agenda. And also, the thief. So Winslow, like, sneaks out in the middle of the day into the forest, and he meets with the thief, and they have an amicable conversation. And then, like, 2 days later, thief is found dead. His dead body is washed up on the seashore. And, whoa. So, like, he would have been killed shortly after a secret meeting with Lord Winslow. And then there's, like, a group of 2 people that come in after midnight. And Lady Strafford is very insistent on teaching Mary how to seal your letters properly to make sure nobody can open them. You want to be able to tell if somebody's been in your room and sneaking around in your things and reading your mail. And Mary tries out one of those techniques, and somebody did break into her room and steal her mail. And oh man. And so clandestine meetings. She goes into town in disguise. Sends secret messages to her friends. They have to send a message to her under a fake name. So so we do have a little bit of mystery stuff, but like I said, not a whole lot, whereas you'd expect her to be examining the crime scene. We don't even know where the guy was killed, actually. And the man in charge of searching sort of asks her to spy on her relatives, so that's why she's sort of spying on her relatives, thinking they have some sort of a big secret that's being held. So this leads me to another problem with the book, is that the big secret was really obvious. Like, I knew about a quarter of the way in what the big secret was. And part of the fault is that I saw the other book in the series. There are 2 more books in the series. Let me read the title of book number 2. True Confessions of a London Spy. And then book 3, The Complete Lady's Guide to the Art of War. That kind of gives away the big secret. Guess what? Those aren't like her real relatives. They're spies. They're secretly training Mary to become a spy. And she's such a good spy, she manages to solve the murder mystery on her own and without them entirely realizing it. So, you know, that's cool. It's good that she's a master spy, managed to outspy the real spies. Turns out that it had something to do with Napoleon, like a secret invasion. Napoleon's army secretly invading England, so she managed to help stop that, and that's good. So they are London spies. Apparently Mary's father was also a spy, and I feel like if that had not been spoiled for me, I would have liked this book a lot more. But it's one of those things where it's like, well, the second book of the series, just the title of the second book gives away the big plot twist at the end of this one. Because it's not until the very end that we learn that they're spies. So, you know, I think we're supposed to suspect that her relatives might be involved in the murder mystery. Like, they're the ones that committed murder, but that just did not work for me at all. I know they were spies the whole time, and that made it a little, that did make it less interesting, the stuff at her at home. And as I said, it'd be better if the book focused more on mystery, or, you know, just cut out like 50 to 100 pages, made it a lot shorter, and then focused only on the mystery parts, or the spy parts. Yeah, that would have been better too. So those are just my overall thoughts. I thought it was good. I did like the mystery and Mary solving it. It is solid. It's cool to see her become a spy. Didn't as much like the parts of her with her strange relatives, because I knew the big plot twist. And it was really, I don't know, it was very secretive and so mysterious, but, you know, if you know they're spies, it's just not a mystery. So, yeah. So those are my thoughts on The Secret Life of Miss Mary Bennet. Thank you for watching, everyone. Did like the fancy ending. The ending really makes you want to pick up the second book and see what happens next to her. So it definitely had a great cliffhanger ending. Bye.